What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today I wanted to do a little bit of a team spotlight on one of the more interesting squads from Milwaukee, and that was this Hydreigon Sand team piloted by Baby Singh. So Singh was able to go 10-3 at Milwaukee, right? Good enough for 10th place, so excellent results. And you know, we're a big fan of sand on the channel, right? If you've been paying attention to our GIFs, we've been using different variations of sand, and this is another really cool one, which is why I wanted to feature it in today's video. And I also wanted to, you know, just recreate it so this way you guys can use it as well. I've gotten a couple of requests for this, so at least I wanted to put something out there so this way you can make some tweaks on your own and then, you know, have your own spin on it. But I'm just going to recreate exactly what they have by just slapping on our EV spreads here. But part of the selling point was of the team is not necessarily the mons, but the moves and the items, as well as some of the Terra options on some of these Pokemon here. But Excadrill Tyranitar, of course, gives you that sand core here. Then you have the Incineroar and Amoongus, right? Your defensive backbone. Okay, Corviknight is really good on sand teams, as we've seen before. Again, with Corviknight, you do have the ability to kind of just wall out the Sneasler because, again, you don't take any damage from Dire Claw. You are a steel type. And then you take neutral damage from the close combat. And then what you're able to also do is just pressure with Brave Bird and just remove it from the field and allow. Now a lot of these Sneaslers are not even going with the Sash anymore. They're going with these Grassy Seeds Acrobatic Swords Dance sets. So you can kind of just go for the 1-hit KO. And ideally what you can do now is go for Bulk Up, which is exactly what they were running. So now you're going to get an attack boost and a defense boost. So you can kind of balance out their Swords Dance idea a little bit. And then at the same time, resist a lot of their damage, right? Because again, even though they have acrobatics with Swords Dance, you're a steel type. You can resist that. So there's not a big deal there. And then at the same time, the close combat is just neutral, right? And with bulk ups, you're going to be able to tank that relatively well. And, you know, with leftovers, you're going to have decent recovery at the same time here. And along with this, the Corviknight was also running Tailwind here. So now you can give yourself even more speed control, you know, with the Excadrill, right? Because again, even though you do get a boost in the sand, right? Let me put Sand Rush here. You know, sometimes in the Tailwind mirror, you still need a little bit more. So if you can get sand and Tailwind on your side, then the Excadrill can outpace a lot of those aggressive Tailwind teams. Okay, now there's also pretty good synergy with Hydreigon, right? Because of Levitate, and we've seen this before, you know, with other Levitate options here. But Hydreigon is really cool here as a Dragon type with the sand. Like again, Kamo O Sand also worked out relatively well because again, the Dragon typing is able to resist a lot of the weaknesses of both Excadrill and Tyranitar, right? And even Incineroar. So for example, water, right? So Hydreigon as a Dragon type is able to resist water damage, right? And then at the same time, you know, the ground weakness is pretty evident here, which is why you have two ground immunities here with the Hydreigon and the Corviknight here. So there's that. And then what you do have to take into account here, okay, is the fact that you have 1, 2, 3, you have 4 you know, fighting weaknesses here, right? So you have to make sure you at least have some immunity here, right? You do have a resist in the Amoongus, which is all right, but you need a little bit more than this. So this is why they also opted for Terra Ghost on this Hydreigon for that same reason. So this way you can kind of make them think, do I want to really close combat this Hydreigon, or do I even want to fake out this Hydreigon? And this is where you pull the ghost trigger on them and then make them pay, right? But also, you know, just Tyranitar here was just really aggressive here. But, you know, it wasn't an Assault Vest Tyranitar. First of all, the AV was on the Incineroar, which we'll talk about in a second. But this Tyranitar was actually Choice Scarf. Very interesting item to have on it. And that means you can outspeed a lot of the major threats because you have this +1 speed boost, okay? And we're going to, you know, pretty much just go max speed here, right? You know, I was going adamant max speed, and my Tyranitar was outspeeding a lot of different things there. So, again, with 112, or technically 113 with the +1, you're able to outspeed, you know, base 100s, like, for example, a max speed Volcarona, for example, which is, you know, quite interesting in itself. But I like that. So, the fact that this was a +1 T-Tar meant I was able to go first against a lot of these aggressive options. And then the other selling point here with Hydreigon is this. Well, first of all, it was a Life Orb set, not like a Goggle set or a Covert Cloak set, but it had the tech of Fire Blast on it, which was very interesting, right? Because again, Hydreigon does get access to fire moves, right? It does get access to Heat Wave. It also gets access to Flamethrower, right? And, you know, one would prefer one over the other because, again, this is at least spread move And this, even though it is single target, just like Fire Blast, it's more accurate, right? So it might have a little bit more consistency, but at least with Fire Blast, you have a stronger base power here with 110. And that, to my suspicion or to my expectation, is that it is picking up KOs that Flamethrower and Heat Wave were not being able to pick up. What those KOs were, I'm not exactly sure. Baby Sim would have to fill us in if they're even watching this, but Fire Blast was actually really cool when I was using it. So when I was doing games against like Dondozo stuff, right? And Fire Blast was really helpful against the Terra Steel Dondozos, because with this Amoongus, I was threatening Clear Smog, so they went Terra Steel, but then Hydreigon was just going for these hard-hitting Fire Blasts that it was just ending up being a 2-hit KO anyway, right? So there was a big selling point with that. And then you still have stuff like Draco Meteor. You know, if you want to go for your single target dragon move there, Draco Meteor with Life Orb is still going to hurt a lot, right? And then this was also still going for Dark Pulse here. So you still have your good solid Dark move against a lot of these ghost options like a Goldengo, for example. So that was really, really nice too. Okay. But after that, it was AV Incineroar, which meant you have U-Turn as your pivot move rather than Parting Shot. But U-Turn is also still pretty solid because, again, unlike Parting Shot, U-Turn can chip damage and break Sash. And sometimes it puts things in range where you can pick up a KO on that same turn or even a future turn, right? So I really like that as well. But overall, there was some pretty good balance here, right? You have the backbone here with Instant Amoongus. You have the Sand mode here, right? The aggressive physical attackers with Excadrill and Tyranitar. And then you have Hydreigon here as your special attacker. And then Corviknight was both support and also a physical option here that you can also use in the end game, especially with these bulk ups, right? So I really liked how this team played, and I wanted to recreate it here. So let's just kind of go through it here. So Hydreigon here, obviously this last move here was Protect. The Excadrill was Focus Sash, which is really nice. You could tank one big hit. It was Terra Stellar for a little bit more damage. And then it was just your 2 ground moves and the Iron move, right? So Earthquake, and then this was High Horsepower. Then the Steel move, I said Iron move. Iron Head, right? And then just Protect over here. Then this T-Tar was Terra Flying, still Terra Flying, right? So you had that good synergy with Excadrill as well, which meant it was also Terra Blast. And it was Rock Slide, of course, with Knockoff. And then this last move here, it was Stone Edge, right? So again, single target Stone Edge was very useful because, again, Stone Edge, you know, along with Tyranitar being a rock type, is going to do a lot of damage. And, you know, you got that nice little crit chance there, right? Now, 80% accuracy, not the best, but again, when it lands, it's going to do a lot. And an Instant here, again, was also pretty standard with Flare Blitz, Knockoff, Fake Out, of course. And then this was a Terra Grass option, right? This is going to help you get around Amoongus and whatnot. What happened here? Oh, I think this was U-Turn. All right, then the Amoongus here was Terra Electric, which was really, really interesting there, right? So again, Electric, the only real weakness for Electric is just ground, right? But what are the other ground types? It's just, you know, Ursalunas. And besides that, yes, you might get the occasional Terra Blast Ninetales, but that's pretty much it. So Electric is always like a pretty decent Terra type for something like this. So Amoongus, again, it was holding the Citrus Berry, right? A little bit of recovery there. Then you had Spore. Then again, we said Clear Smog, Rage Powder. Okay, and then just protecting that last slot there. And then, did I cover the Instant? Yeah, I did. All right, then the Corviknight. This was Terra Fire, so this way you don't take like burn damage or fire type attack in general there. And then this was also Body Press, right? So now, if you go for these bulk ups, again, you're gonna make your Body Press hit harder too because you're getting defense boost as well. So now this is also gonna give you ways to hit steel types, and then at the same time still be able to hit everything else with something like a Brave Bird here. So fighting and flying coverage is really, really good right now, to be honest. So I like this set on Corviknight quite a bit there. Okay, so now just in terms of EV sets here, the easiest one is just to do Excadrill first. Again, you can just go Adamant, max speed here. Nothing really else you need to worry about here. And then Tyranitar here, I was also max speed. And then just for test purposes, I just went Adamant 204 just to hit the bump in the attacking stat. And then I just put 12 points in the special defense, you know, just to get a nice even number to balance out my +1 boost from the sand. And then 1 point in the defense. And then just dumping the leftovers here into HP. And that was my T-Char spread. So again, if you're trying to get better at competitive Pokemon, and if you're trying to create EV spreads like this, right, where you're trying to hit your bumps and your benchmarks, make sure you comment below asking what are EV bumps if you don't know what they are. Because again, it's a fundamental skill to understand when you're building squads. So if you don't know what they are, comment asking what are EV bumps. I will reply and respond to you. Also, if you check our video description below, we also put out a whole video on what EV bumps are. We go through a whole process, showing different examples. So if that is something you're interested in, check out our video below talking about that. But otherwise, just comment below and I will answer you. We're going to show the same thing with Corviknight here. So I just went with almost max HP here. I went to 244. And then I just went to about 100 here into the attack because, again, this is the other benchmark here. I put 1 point in the defense just to hit a nice even number with our bulk ups. And then this speed tier here, I just went for 156 here. Again, 107. Technically, you can go like 105 here. This is for, outspeeding the modest Ursalunas. But I went to 107, so at the very least, I can speed creep. And, under Tailwind, I can still outspeed something like a Dragapult, right? And then I just put my last point here into special defense because that's all there was left. The Amoongus here, so just to... Oh, this is a Vex War. Let's go Regenerator here. Just to optimize my berry here, I'm going to go, again, Relax Nature here, but again, almost max HP, 0 speed. I'm going to go to 220, which is, again, for 2 reasons. One, this puts you out of range for the Annihilate Final Gambit. That's always important, right? Because, again, they're going to hit for 218, which is why 219 was also pretty important too, right? But this already was optimizing for Regenerator. You get a perfect 73 recovery because, again, 1/3 of your max HP. But I also wanted to optimize a little bit for the Citrus Berry there, so I put it for an even number, and 220 was the next best thing. Then I went to the bump here for 156, and then I was just dumping the rest here into Special Defense. If you have your own Amoongus spread that you still like and use, feel free to use that. I was just using a very basic general one, so this was it. Incineroar here, so kind of like Tyranitar here, I also just ran at max speed, but again, I can do that because Incin is 1 speed slower than T-Tar, so I still went that direction. And I went with Adamant 36 here, which is really useful in pressuring stuff like Rillaboom, just with Flare Blitz altogether. And then I put 12 points in the Spadef just for, again, a nice even number for your Assault Vest, best bang for your buck, and then 1 point in defense, and then just dumping the rest here into HP. Very general Adamant Assault Vest Incineroar spread here, especially max speed here. Faster faked out are really, really appreciated, so I like that idea as well. And then what else is left? Yeah, then just Hydreigon, same thing here. I went with max speed Timid here, okay? And then just a little bit of Life Orb optimization. I went to, you could just do something like this, right? And just call it a day. I went a little bit more bulk, right? Which meant I took a little bit away from the damage here, but at the same time, I still felt like it was okay, right? So I also dropped the speed just a little bit, right? Because I was like, what am I really outspeeding here? I'm not outspeeding the base 100s. I really just want to outspeed, Annihilates, right? As well as like Goldengos. So I just dropped the speed and I went to about 204 here. And that's really all I needed because a lot of them were just going to 157 anyway. So I just went to 158. And then now from here, this is where I added a little bit more bulk here into my HP. I optimized my HP for Life Orb chip. So I ended with a 9 here, 179, which means, again, 17.9, which rounds down to 17 points of Life Orb chip per turn. If you break the threshold like this, if you go to 180, now it's 18 points of damage per turn. Why are you taking unnecessary Life Orb damage? So you want to optimize that and drop the threshold by 1. And then this was pretty much it. That was my Hydreigon set that I was using, and I was more than fine with it when I was testing it out for a few games. But yeah, this is pretty much the team. This is our recreation. Again, I have no idea what Baby Singh's spreads were. I'm just showing one example of it. So if you have your own idea or if you have your own spreads, feel free to use that. But at least, for those who have no idea or how to get started, at the very least, I wanted to put out a sample spread over here. Okay, so now let's see how we can use the team in some test games. I do have some to show you here. But again, you can start out strong with Excadrill with the Sand Mode here and pivot out into either Tyranitar or Corviknight and just go for Earthquake damage. In the weather games against Pelipper, our Keladon teams, Tyranitar Excadrill is also going to be really solid, as well as Hydreigon too, where you can pressure the Basculegions and the Goldengos there. So I really like Hydreigon in that matchup because, again, you can resist the water damage, the electric damage from the Archelodon, and, of course, the last respects from the Basculegion as well. The Trick Room matchup, you can bring Incin Amoongus. If it's Indeedee Hydreigon stuff, you got a lot of dark types here. You got Incin with the AV, you can tank that relatively well, as well as T-Tar with the Sand. So you're totally fine in that regard there. And then the Corviknight, can be like good endgame win conditions that you can, you know, go and use with, especially against the Sneasler stuff. So like body press, you know, after bulk ups along with Tailwind support is going to help a lot. So in a lot of Sneasler games, I was bringing Corviknight a lot, and I was, you know, going for the position where I can isolate the Sneasler slot in the end game and then force the 1v1 with Corviknight and Sneasler, and then just kind of win from there. And then, you know, Hydreigon was able to also pressure a lot of different teams, just like with Dark Pulse nukes and Fire Blast too, right? And I was clicking Fire Blast, so you know, it wasn't I was just clicking Draco Meteor Dark Pulse. There were games where I was clicking Fire Blast. And then the speed on T-Charge just helps so much there. You can outpace a lot of the Pelipper teams, right? Especially when it's just you and Pelipper face to face. You can just go for that fast Rock Slide or that fast Stone Edge and just remove it immediately, which is really nice. And of course, AV Incineroar is going to help you a lot into the Assault Vest Ursalunas. They're not going to have as much Life Orb damagers, right? Or the Life Orb item, which means they're going to be taking reduced damage. That's what I meant to say. So there's the benefit of the AV there. And then, of course, Knockoff, where you can just remove their Life Orb or remove the Assault Vest and then let Hydreigon potentially just clean it up, right? So I like that. And again, it was a really, really cool team. You got Intimidate, Fake Out Pressure, you got Speed Control here. You got Redirection Support, which is really nice. You got Setup here. And yeah, overall, I like the squad a lot. So let me show you a couple games with it. So this way you got some idea on how to pilot this team. All right, so this is a Rabombi team with Gholdengo and Hisuian Typhlosion. So this is probably just, you know, Tailwind along with Fake Tears just to help those two do a little bit more damage. And then you have the physical side of things with Sneasler and then the Indeedee there for the Psychic Boost. And then just Rillaboom here just for stabilization, right? So overall, I still like Incineroar into a game like this because, again, I can intimidate the Sneasler and the Rillaboom. I can pressure the Gholdengo and the Typhlosion too. And I'm able to resist a lot of their attacks too. And I still like my Sand mode as well because I still see several ground weaknesses and they kind of have to bring the Rillaboom because of that. And we're going to use that to our advantage because, again, Excadrill and Incineroar is looking pretty good here, as well as even the Hydreigon technically. So to start, I'm going to go with Tyranitar and Excadrill here and keep Incin in the back. He's going to go with Rillaboom and he's going to go with Typhlosion here. Now, what was really interesting about this Rillaboom is it did have Sunny Day. So I suspected he might try and do that here. So I pivot in the Incineroar anyway, just so that I can intimidate these guys, resist whatever attack the Typhlosion's going, and take advantage of Sunny Day if he did click it, which he ended up doing. So there's the Heat Wave, right? But again, Excadrill has a Sash, which means I get to live. And now I pressure the Typhlosion and KO with high horsepower. And then, you know, because it was Charcoal. Again, he tried to Sunny Day thinking I would pivot back in, but I didn't, right? So Flare Blitz looked really good there. Okay, so thank you for that. And now he goes with Indeedee, and now he goes with the Rabombi here. So, like, Tyranitar is looking really good here. He does have the option for Terra Fighting, which, again, he does do. So I decided to stay in here, right, and just take the KO. But now Excadrill, right, can just go for whatever he wants because this Rabombi did not go for an attack. He went for Tailwind anyway, which, again, was fine by us. And that meant it was just a 3-on-1 against old little Rabombi, and we're going to pick up them. Alright, so this was an interesting Archelodon Pelipper balance idea, right? He's got Instant and Amoongus along with the Annihilate. So I would imagine there's like some setup there with bulk ups with their Annihilate, and then he's got a Sylveon there. Why he's got Sylveon, I couldn't tell you. But again, our weather mode is our main advantage here. And I still like Hydreigon into a lot of what he has because, again, if I can just change the weather, Fire Blast is looking really good as well as Draco Meteor technically. So I do like those options there. Okay, so he's going to go with Archelodon, and he's going to go with Annihilate. So probably Pelipper in the back, right? I wanted to go with Corviknight here along with Tyranitar just to see if I could bait out the Pelipper here. So I go into Amoongus just to see, right? I'm going to go Terra, Fire, Corviknight. It goes for CC into the Amoongus, right? So that's good for us. Could have even Brave Birded this thing. Probably might have KO'd, right? There's another Electro Shot. There's one Electro Shot, actually, right? So Body Press into Arch, okay? And again, this was a sturdy Archelodon. This wasn't a Stamina and whatnot. So now I can Rage Powder again. There's another Close Combat Re-Resist. And he has Dragon Pulse, but not Meteor, right? So then I'm able to live. I'm able to heal with my Berry. And again, could have killed the Annihilate here, but again, just getting Tailwind support is also pretty interesting, right? So I'm just going to protect the Amoongus first, right? It goes for another CC, okay? So that tells me he was, in fact, Scarf here, right? So there's a Brave Bird, okay? So see you later. And now we are free to go into our next mon here, and I believe it was in fact the Hydreigon here, right? So I still have T-Tar in the back, which is nice. So I'm gonna try and get my Amoongus a little bit of recovery here. Does protect on the arch, right? And then there's the Draco, right? Of course, it gets whiffed, but there's a U-turn, super effective. And now this is where he pivots into Pelipper, right? So again, still fine because I can outspeed because I have a Scarf, but again, I do have Tailwind support. Rock Slide unfortunately misses the arch, but again, I still can pick up the KO here with the Draco, which is fine. So in this case, I could have even just clicked the Stone Edge technically, right? And then just Draco the Archelon anyway. But here comes the Rillaboom here. He went for his own Tailwind, so now I just have to play around it. All I have to do is just remove the Pelipper, and then I'm kind of fine here. There's the Wood Hammer, Amoongus resist, right? And now that means I get to freely kill the Pelipper, and that's pretty much it. That should be the game because now Rillaboom is all by itself. So now all I have to do is just reposition the board a little bit, right? I'm just going to protect one turn because I know he can't really kill the Amoongus here. I'm just doing a little bit of a stall out here, a little bit more chip on the Amoongus. And now I can go for my patented switch here, right? Even if he kills Tyranitar now, it's still fine because again, Hydreigon is just going to win now that the rain is out of the way. I could even just Fire Blast this thing. But again, just Clear Smog is just doing so much damage here, right? And now, just to ensure that I win the game, I can just click Knock Off here. And even if he clicks Wood Hammer on T-Tar, it's not a huge deal. Because again, I still have Amoongus and Hydreigon here. And that's exactly what he does. And he actually just removes himself, right? Because of the recoil damage there. Now, this player did have a Dondozo team, even though it wasn't a great Dondozo team and not very optimal. This was a case where I was going for Fire Blast here because the Dondozo was Terra Steel to get around my Amoongus, right? So, just to show you how this one went out, he threw out the Precursion, so this way Electric Terrain and I couldn't sport, right? But he throws out Earthworm there. I know he wants to hide behind that, so I just wanted to pressure that immediately and just go for the Fire Blast right from the get-go. So, there he goes into Dondozo here, right? Just to try and sacrifice the Earthworm here, just because, right? And go into Tatsugiri. But that was good, because now all I have to do is reposition the boards, right? So I'm going to protect Hydreigon, switch out Excadrill for the endgame, and just go into Amoongus now, right? Which is fine. And now I baited out that order up there into the Hydreigon, which is good. So now he gets baited into the Terra Steel, right? Because again, he got scared of Clear Smog for some reason, right? So now that means I can go for Fire Blast next turn, right? Because again, Dark Pulse was a little bit of decent chip, but I need more. So another order up, Amoongus lives, which means we get to use our berry. And now look how much damage Fire Blast is doing into these +2 Dondozos. That is very good damage. That puts it in range next turn, right? So he's gonna lose a Dondozo potentially. So he does protect just to try and get a little bit of recovery, maybe to put himself out of range of Fire Blast, if anything, or maybe get a miss now, right? And then protect next turn. But we weren't going to have it because, again, this is the Clover Bells channel. We have +1 luck automatically, and that's exactly what happens here. So goodbye, Dondozo. Fire Blast doing the job against the Terra Steel option. Okay, now he's just left with Tatsugiri and a Pincurchin here. And again, we have Excadrill in the back waiting. We just need a little bit more chip damage where Earthquake can just kind of finish the job here. So he does protect. Rock Slide hits the Pincurchin. That's all I needed. I just needed to, you know, break Sash. Excadrill wins the game from here, right? Zing Zap is just not enough, obviously. But now we can just kind of clean things up here. So he tries to protect again. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because, again, I was using a spread move here. Draco Meteor, didn't even need to do that anymore. I could have just even clicked Dark Pulse there. But I was afraid if Rock Slide would miss, I just still wanted to at least cover. And, of course, we're a Dragon type. We get to resist all that anyway. And that is pretty much it, right? So you got to see Fire Blast, Hydreigon, you know, prove its worth. Alright, so this is one of those hard trick room games, again, with Indeedee Hatterene, Torkoal Ursaluna, Gallade, and Annihilate in the last 2 slots. We've seen this team before, so let's lead our Dark type here with Tyranitar. Let's bring out the Hydreigon. It's Indeedee Hatterene here. I wanted to see if we could bait out the Dazzling Gleam instead of the Trick Room there, because that would be a mistake on their part, right? So, go for Rock Slide, trying for the flinch here, and I just went for Dark Pulse just to remove the Redirector here, right? So that's really good. And now the Hatterene did not click Trick Room, which means that's fine because the T-Tar lives. No Trick Room gets set up. Your Torkoal is not in a position to sweep, which means my Excadrill is looking really good here, right? And there is the Torkoal. But again, I don't need Sand anymore. But now he goes into Gallade here. I'm going to go Terra Flying here. And now I click Rock Slide, a little bit more chip. And then I click Earthquake, which is, again, more chip. Remove the Hatterene. Gallade is down to its last life here. And now it's just Torkoal here. And again, no Trick Room, right? And, you know, this Scarlet didn't even have Wide Guard, right? Which is why I'm still going for these spread moves here. So there's Rock Slide. And now I can just go for Earthquake. And then that's pretty much it. So very, very easy Trick Room gain there. And again, our mistake by our opponent. He didn't go for Trick Room. He went for damage. He got greedy, right? Thinking he could kill. But killing means no Trick Room. And that means we get to kill after that because you have no Trick Room. So this is against our Grassy Seed Volcarona, which is, again, a team that we like a lot. Again, you know, the key here is the Tyranitar positioning. Because I think with Stone Edge, we're going to do a lot of damage into both the Incin and the Volcarona. And then at the same time, we do have the Corviknight for the Incineroar Rillaboom stuff. And even the Blood Moon Ursaluna, which we can always body press. And you can't even click Earth Power into that slot either. So I like the tools that we have against this. So here we go. He's going to lead his Blood Moon Ursaluna. He's going to go with Basculegion. Common lead, right? We're going to go with Corviknight, and we're going to go with Incineroar. So right away, we get to intimidate the Basculegion, which is nice. So I'm going to go Terra Grass here. I'm going to fake out the Ursaluna. And I'm also going to try and set up the Bulk Up here, right? So Wave Crash, again, we do have the Terra Grass out of that. But again, we're able to resist that well. So now he has to make a choice here. Does he stay in or does he switch? He does switch. He goes into Ninetales, which is, again, fine. Right, I go for the knockoff just to remove the leftovers here. Body press is great damage there. It doesn't obviously remove the Ursaluna. And now he forces me to make a choice, right? And my choice is clear. I want to preserve the Corviknight endgame. I'm going to go into Tyranitar now. Get this Ninetales out of here. He goes for Terra Ice, interestingly enough, trying to get the Blizzard. That might have KO'd the Incin, but I did have the Assault Vest, so I wasn't sure. But at the end of the day, because I brought in the T-Tar, my sash, I mean, their sash gets chipped by the sand. And, you know, again, we just removed the KO there, right? So their weather is gone. Our weather's still intact. He still has his Incineroar. I go for a knockoff. I thought that was going to kill the Ursaluna. I'm not going to lie. I probably should have just went for something else there. But I think that was our best move there. But unfortunately, the Blood Moon is super bulky there. So we have to take the Blood Moon. But again, still fine because now the sand gives us the speed. We go into Excadrill. There's not really a whole lot he can do here. I just click Earthquake here. And the Incin almost gets removed here. He does go for a knockoff. And again, I'm surprised he lived. Right? I went for Bulk Up anyway just to like prepare myself for the endgame against the Basculegion here. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. He didn't even click, you know, Aqua Jet or whatever or whatnot. So that means free KO onto the Incin. And now we just go for the Brave Bird here into Basculegion. And that's pretty much it. So, and we still had our own Incin in the back technically, right? So, no Volcarona was brought. He got scared of the Tyranitar stuff. And that meant he didn't really have an endgame, right? Because we removed the Blood Moon, which was the main threat on his team technically if he didn't bring the Volcarona. And after that, Corviknight kind of just won. All right, one more here. So this is like some back scalloper balance stuff with Sneasler. And then that's like the Yawn Dondozo stuff. So honestly, I still like my sand mode here because like Tyranitar Excadrill with the ground coverage and the rock coverage looks really good. Because again, rock looks great into both backs and Volcarona. And then the ground looks really good into Gambit and Sneasler. And yes, you can bring Rillaboom to mitigate my Earthquake damage. But again, I still have like high horsepower stuff. And then knockoff is just really good against like Dondozo and even the back Scalloper and Volcarona just to make sure that they don't get like extra recovery and whatnot. So I still like everything that we have to offer here. So I'm going to go Excadrill here and I'm going to go T-Tar and he's going to go with Gambit and he's going to go with the Sneasler here. So Sneasler, Gambit, there is fake out coaching on the board here, but again, I just wanted to still pressure with the Earthquake damage there. So there's Earthquake. We hit the Gambit for super big damage and I didn't think that would actually pick up the Sneasler. I thought he might switch out into Rillaboom there, which is why I went for the Terra Blast there. But now here's the Rillaboom. So I wanted to just pivot out into the Hydreigon here, right? There's the fake out into my T-Tar, and he went for Sucker Punch. So fake out Sucker Punch was on the board. Now we can pressure immediately right back, right? So now from here, the Gambit has a choice. The Rillaboom goes Terra Water, so he commits that. So there goes the Terra there, right? He's able to take one Terra Blast, right? I went for Draco, and there's the Wood Hammer. So that actually puts things in range of my Terra Blast, right? And that's really good for us. And then a little bit more Sand Chip. So now I can do two things, right? So he still stays in with the Gambit, funny enough, right? Grassy Glide and Sucker Punch. I could have just, again, doubled into that slot there, down goes Rillaboom, and then I could have just clicked Draco into Gambit, or again like Fire Blast there, but he disregarded the Hydreigon. I thought that was the main threat there. So now there's the Dondos. I'm just gonna go into Corviknight here, right? There's the Protect into the Gambit. Okay, he's very adamant at keeping this Gambit alive, and now here's Yawn into my Hydreigon slot. But again, I still have faster speed into the Gambit, so I'm just gonna go into T-Char, get some sand going, and then body press the Gambit and fine. So not quite like some of these optimal turns here, but again, we're still like in a pretty good spot. So my T-Char is down to its last tick here with the sand. I technically don't need the sand, right? But I still need the Mon itself. So I'm gonna go with the double switcher. He actually went for the Protect there. Yawn Protect, that's gonna fail. I don't know if he like knew that, or in this case here. So I'm just gonna go for the double flinch. Iron Head and then Dark Pulse here. So I'm just increasing my flinch chances. I don't even get it, but the Hydreigon is able to tank, and you see that extra little bit of EVs into that HP is really paying off there. I'm surprised I didn't get any flinch chance there, but that's fine. I just repivot out. I knew he would try and protect here, you know, just trying to resist and let the T-Char die here. But now I'm in a great spot, okay, because now the Dozo is just kind of cooked here, right? Earthquake, great damage there. Not that the crit was needed. Again, I just went for Brave Bird there, and I'm just able to pick that up there. So some turns not quite optimal, but again, we still had more than enough good play where we still came out on top here. All right, so there's the pace. So give this one a go. Let us know how you do. Again, I had a lot of fun using stuff like, you know, Fire Blast, Hydreigon, Scarf Tyranitar, and then Corviknight just going for like body presses and whatnot, matching Tailwinds and stuff. Amoongus also still had pretty good value in some games. And AV Incen's just really good against like Blood Moon, Ursalune, and Gold Dango stuff altogether. So yeah, definitely give it a go. And once again, congrats to Baby Singh on the 10-3 results at Milwaukee there. And here's the pace. I don't know what their spreads were, but I think ours is just solid in general. So give it a go. And again, if you're interested in coaching for Las Vegas, or even like some of the EU regionals coming up, besides Lyle, that's this weekend there, make sure you sign up for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one session with me via Discord, where we get to build a team from scratch just like this. And if you're interested in improving your battling, Tier 4 will get you the same Tier 3 team building session, and then at the same time, now you can send us your showdown replays, and then we can give you feedback on how to, you know, optimize your battles a little bit. So if you're interested in that as well for Vegas, or if you got a league challenge or a league cup coming up, you know, the Tier 4 might be the one for you. All right, but that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.